Does sleep impact our overall health and does it lead to cancer?
It is known that short sleepers, that is, people who sleep less than 6 hours, have an increased risk for cancer.
What are the changes you would recommend to a patient struggling with sleep?
There are a lot of other problems like insomnia, other major sleep disorders as such. Okay, anybody who's having a disrupted sleep or they are sleeping very less, that is known to increase the cancer risk.
Welcome to OncoFlex. Here we have another episode, another interesting one about sleep, its impact on overall health, and could it lead to cancer. We welcome Dr. Uma Devraj, head of the department, pulmonology and sleep medicine at St. John's Medical College, Bangalore. Thank you for coming on our show, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you. So, the first question is, does sleep impact our overall health and does it lead to cancer?
Yes, that's a very good question. See, all of us spend almost one third of our life sleeping. Okay, it forms a very important physiological role in our well-being and good health. Okay, if enough sleep is not there, definitely it impacts. All of us would have experienced even one night of irregular sleep or disturbed sleep. It affects our daytime functioning also. Yes, it definitely impaired or a disrupted sleep. It impacts the health and daytime function and other implications, like as you were mentioning, even cancer risk. It is known that short sleepers, that is, people who sleep less than 6 hours, have an increased risk for cancer, especially breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and colorectal. Colorectal cancer is known in people who sleep much longer. So there is a sweet spot.
So, that's an
Like,
inactivity.
yes, sedentary from 7 to 9 hours, that is the ideal sleep. There's no fixed time for anybody, but that is what is recommended. So, both very short sleep as well as long sleep can impact health.
Very interesting. Madam, you being a sleep expert and specialist, day in and day out, you will be seeing a lot of people coming to you with sleep issues. How many of them are due to stress? How many are due to psychological issues? And how many are truly organic or have a pathology underlying?
We run a referral center, so ours is a referral sleep lab. We have three sleep labs, and so many of the times it is people who've already seen a doctor prior to coming to us, and they would have sorted out whatever the basic issues, but most of them have core sleep issues as such. Yes, we do see patients with psychological problems, many times referred from, say, Nimhans or from our psychiatry. So that probably I would say 5% of my sleep practice, we see them as, due to psychological issues. Many times our regular patients like pulmonology and this thing, they have a lot of stress,
Okay.
especially Bangalore being,
So,
the cosmopolitan hub and so much is happening. So the stress related issues are also there and that also impacts sleep. So we do see quite a bit of them.
no, you told about sleep lab. When you do a sleep study, okay, what are the red flags which tell the doctor, okay, fine, this is abnormal, and what are the changes you would recommend to a patient struggling with sleep?
Most of our practice is to do with what we call as an obstructive sleep apnea.
Okay.
Okay, so that is our main sleep practice area, I
Yeah.
can see. There are a lot of other problems like insomnia, other major sleep disorders as such. When I see a sleep report, most important to see is whether they are sleeping normally. What is their sleep pattern? So sleep has both what we call as a REM sleep and a non-REM sleep. That is, REM is usually where we dream and this thing. So that is only 25% of the sleep. And non-REM sleep is the person when he goes into the lighter and the deep sleep. Deep sleep. So if we see that the sleep pattern, it all goes in slightly one part of non-REM and then it's followed by REM and then again it comes as cycles. So if that cycle is not proper, or the sleep is getting disrupted quite often, or if they have what is called as the choking spells and apnea episodes. So those are the red flags. Red flags for sleep as such, when you consider cancer risk, okay, anybody who's having a disrupted sleep or they are sleeping very less, that is known to increase the cancer risk.
Okay.
So, or person who's coming with insomnia, they are not able to sleep at all. There has been a Finnish study where they have followed up around 5 lakh people for so many years. So, from 1971 to 76, the study was done, and then they were followed up for many years later also. They have seen that people who are complaining of insomnia, they had a almost 20% higher risk of developing cancer in the later years. So that is quite a surprising fact, but it is, proven by evidence.
So when patients come to you, madam, what is the most common symptom that they complain of? Are patients aware that their sleep cycle is not good, or what symptoms do they generally tell you?
Sleep issues as such, yeah, most commonly, more than the person who's coming, it is the family members who's affected. Many of them come with loud snoring,
Snoring.
intrusive snoring. Sometimes we've had people who are saying, I'm not able to travel because when I travel in a public transport, say night train or other thing, other passengers get disturbed. So that is a very common issue. Other thing is excessive sleepiness during the daytime.
Daytime sleepiness could
So
indicate
at work, sometimes they are driving and they doze off and they get into accidents.
Okay.
So it can be that very significant issue with them. So most commonly these are the issues. But of course, yes, other like I'm not able to sleep at all, or I am very stressed and that is affecting my work. Or very rarely we get shift work.
right,
Correct.
right.
Exactly.
Like very long periods if they are doing shift work, again they are not able to adjust to the regular daytime activities, say at weekend or social interactions. So that is a problem with them.
So one other question was, does obstructive sleep apnea mean every patient of obstructive sleep apnea will have snoring?
Mostly yes,
Mostly,
95% time yes. Snoring is a major issue, see, because the obstruction is there in the upper airway, and this is the area where the main problem happens. So when that gets blocked or obstructed, so air tries to rush in, so that leads to snoring. So it's a very common symptom.
Is the reverse also true, madam? Does everybody who snores have an obstructive sleep issue?
Not ideally speaking. So there are other of course, snoring in our culture, it is taken as, oh, a person is snoring and he slept
Sleeping
very
well, yeah.
Exactly.
So that is actually not true.
Correct.
Snoring is a issue, it is a symptom, it is a symptom of something which is underlying. There is a problem there. So as you asked, if person is snoring, does it mean that he has a problem or no? Yes, a mild snoring might be, it's just if it is very occasional or say in certain positions, and probably when the person is very tired, or if they have some upper airway like a deviated nasal septum or some tonsillar problem, then probably it is not a problem. But if there is very intrusive snoring, it hampers their nighttime sleep as well as daytime function, it is a problem that has to be addressed.
Perfect. Is surgical intervention one of the major factors for obstructive sleep apnea, or is there kind of physiotherapies or exercises where a person can incorporate into their daily lifestyle to reduce the
So
risk?
there are a lot of modalities of treatment for sleep apnea. So younger children, they also have sleep
Oh.
apnea if they have, say, tonsillar enlargements and say some facial abnormalities, which causes the jaw to be smaller in this thing. For them, surgery is an option. But the gold standard for treatment for obstructive sleep apnea is what we call as a CPAP machine.
Correct.
So that gives a positive pressure where the air is pushed in. It keeps the throat open, so it overcomes both snoring as well as the obstruction.
Madam, this sleep cycle that you told regarding REM and non-REM sleep, how closely is it related to the circadian rhythm?
The circadian rhythm means circa means around. So circadian rhythm is the full day cycle. So man is a very prime example of circadian rhythm. So we are awake when the sun is up. Okay, when the sun goes down, I mean, these is all probably related to the olden era where there was no electricity and this thing. Sun goes down, everything is dark, man goes to sleep.
Correct.
But with the advent of electricity, we have 24-hour culture, and people are working at night, and a lot of things are happening. Circadian means 24-hour cycle. So how much you are awake and how much you are sleeping. This non-REM and REM cycle, which I mentioned, it is during the sleep cycle. So we have, say, for example, around 90 to 120 minutes of REM, non-REM first. So lighter sleep, deep sleep, followed by REM. So that is one cycle. Again, it cycles into again light sleep, deep sleep, and REM. So it's like that, goes step by step. So that goes as a cycle.
So, is there a possibility of a person missing stage 3 and 4 sleep? Is there a possibility?
It is a possibility. Some people who are, sometimes very stressed, or they have this obstructive sleep apnea problems, or if there is some other abnormality or disease process in them, they might not have enough deep sleep.
In these cases, ma'am, like for example, obstructive sleep apnea, there is problem in your throat,
Yes.
okay, or there's a problem in your oral cavity, probably macroglossia or some kind of enlarged tonsils that would create an obstruction. Do you think there is a higher risk of oral cancers in these patients?
See, obstructive sleep apnea, as we know, it creates some sort of stress in the body. There is an oxidative stress. It is an inflammatory condition also, what we call. So it causes a lot of changes in the body. But though there are studies saying that whether it increases the cancer risk or anything, there is no proper evidence to say that, okay, this is the exact relationship. There is no proven evidence of saying that obstructive sleep apnea increases the cancer.
So it may not be directly
It may not be directly related.
associated. Madam, when we speak of this night shifts, and we often see that their sleep cycle is disrupted because of the necessity of their work.
Yes.
In your sleep study, do you observe specific patterns with respect to these people who have this night shift sleep issues?
Rarely, very good question. For the shift work sleep disorders, what we call, it is mainly based on questionnaire whether they have a disorder or not.
Okay.
Like how many hours you sleep in the daytime. Is it affecting the daytime functioning? Or probably I would say not daytime, the non-working time.
Right.
Because they are working in their night, so that will be their day.
Their day, correct.
Okay, so whether lack of sleep is affecting their work at night.
Okay.
So many times we see, like for example, we did a study long back in bus drivers
Okay.
in this thing. So what many of these people used to do is they used to work night shifts, come sleep for a few hours, and then again they have second job, something else they will do.
Okay.
So they are, restricting themselves in their sleep timing, and that might have an effect on their work also, especially driving
Correct.
at night, which can be dangerous.
So what was your finding, ma'am, with respect to the bus driver study?
Uh, Definitely it affects their job function as well as their wake hours. It can cause a lot of other comorbidities. Many of them, because of the stress of, not only because of the sleep issues, but because they are working and they are probably, having two jobs, or not many, a certain part of those population which we studied, they were more stressed. So that can cause a lot of other physical conditions.
So in cancer, we talk about glycolysis or glucose dependence for cancer causation. So you do a FDG PET CT. PET CT is mainly based on glucose metabolism. In people with sleep disturbances, do you think the diet will change? Probably there could be more glucose cravings, and that could be one of the risks for cancer.
Actually, there is no association of sugar spike or diabetes with increased cancer. It is like any other, population at risk for cancer. But yes, with the increase in sugar, it increases what is called as insulin growth factor, that IGF, which we call. So that actually stimulates and is a very important factor which is required for cancer cell growth.
Yeah.
So
Yes, madam.
it is all, way indirectly which is related, but there is a relationship, but it is minimal.
So
So
does the
we should have all those sugar also under control.
But
Does
You-
this sugar craving also lead to some sleep disorder?
I won't say it is all interrelated.
Interrelated.
Sugar craving and sleep disorder. I mean, sometimes people, they have, for example, diabetes and this thing. I mean, it is not sugar craving, but sugar disorder,
Right.
we will say. When they have very high uncontrolled sugars, if the uncontrolled sugars can result in what is called as polyuria. I mean, they have to get up multiple times to go to visit the restroom. So that disturbs the sleep. So again, that has lot of other bodily effects. So of course, definitely health as such is impacted.
When we talk of alcohol consumption, ma'am, whether it is be it habitual consumption or social drinking, we always know that alcohol disrupts your sleep. So, what kind of disturbances in sleep do you notice in alcoholics or person who has consumed and is under the influence of alcohol?
Okay. So many times people take alcohol to, they say, let me take a peg, I will sleep better. Actually, it is a very, very great myth.
Oh,
Okay. Alcohol, it only causes probably induction of sleep, it can help. But other, as I said, the cycles
The deep
of
sleep.
deep sleep and REM and all, it disrupts the sleep quite a lot.
So, it disrupts.
It disrupts. Alcohol is known to disrupt sleep, and especially for people who are, who are habitual alcohol consumers, or if they're having some other bodily problems, like for example, slight snorers can cause, alcohol consumption can cause increase in snoring. It can cause more of obstructive, so especially obstructive sleep apnea people, if they consume alcohol, it can worsen that much. Okay, so it is quite a problem.
The
Alcohol
quality of sleep is disrupted.
is disrupted definitely, and alcohol also has a association with cancer.
correct.
The alcohol metabolism, it produces acetaldehyde, which is an important tumorigenic factor.
Exactly.
So it has lot of health impacts, not only on sleep but on cancer risk also.
I'm sure a lot of people will also be, wanting to know what are the steps of sleep studies you do. There's level 1, level 2, level 3 as well. What about having 3 sleep labs?
Yes.
So do you mean you have a 24-hour monitoring system in those sleep labs?
No, the sleep lab is for people to come and sleep. So
Okay.
during their sleep time.
Okay.
Okay, of course, the sleep lab functions 24 hours because whatever sleep study happens in the night, so that, the study and the scoring and this thing happens during the daytime. Our techs and we have a sleep fellow. So they score the sleep studies in the daytime, and then the reports are issued and the patients come for checkup. So that happens.
Madam, when we talk of cancer, we always call it as a chronic inflammatory condition.
Yes.
Wherever repeated inflammation happens, whether it is because of smoking or virus or bacteria, repeated inflammation at some point leads to cancer. So, when we talk of sleep disorder, whether it is inadequacy with respect to time of sleep or the quality of sleep, does it increase the risk of cancer because of inflammatory parameters?
Yes. See, I mentioned about less number of sleep, which increases the risk of cancer. So, what happens in the lesser duration of sleep is there is a hormone called melatonin.
Okay.
So, that is usually secreted just 2 hours prior to onset, sleep onset, and increases throughout the night. So, melatonin is not only a sleep hormone, it is also very important for inhibiting what we call as tumorigenesis.
Okay.
So
Melatonin
it
itself.
inhibits. Melatonin has a pluripotent function, what we call. So it also influences the estrogen hormone. So which is important. Say for example, I said the low sleep duration can cause increase in breast cancer and
Right,
ovarian cancer.
right.
So melatonin's influence is because of this, because it is connected with the hormones also.
So,
So whenever we have less sleep, melatonin is reduced, so that increases the risk for cancer formation.
so if you take melatonin, there are a lot of melatonin supplements in the market right now. There's sprays as well, there are tablets as well. So would you recommend these for induction of sleep and maintenance of sleep?
So there are only certain situations where your melatonin as a prescription is prescribed. For example, jet lag, people are, they're not able to adjust immediately and in a different time zone, their melatonin might help. And melatonin also, it has to be taken at a particular time for sleep, say for half an hour or 1 hour prior to sleep. So if you take it during daytime, it might have totally opposite effects. And chronic melatonin supplement is not yet known to have a good effect.
Very interesting insights we got from you. So it's just not about that 6 to 8 hours of sleep. It is also the quality of sleep. And commonly we say sleep disturbance due to stress or depression, but it could always be because of some pathology that is underlying organic, like how you see in your sleep lab. So, what advice would you want to give to the general public, being a sleep specialist? When should they ask for help, and how should their sleep cycles be?
Okay. Yeah, I think sleep is a very, very neglected part of our daily people know about diet.
Correct.
Oh, I should exercise. Sleep, many times people tend to neglect it, especially with the cell phone and screen addiction.
Correct.
Yes.
So, what I would generally advise people is at least 1 hour prior to sleep time, keep off
Yeah.
all your
Gadgets.
pads and gadgets to be put off. Most important is what we call a sleep hygiene. If you want to get a good sleep, make sure that your place where you sleep is completely dark. You're able to sleep well. You should be adequately rested and you have enough hours of sleep. Then the overall health and daytime function will be normal. So the sleep hygiene. So don't like alcohol consumption or any stimulants just prior to going to
Like
sleep.
many people have this habit of taking coffee at the night also.
Yes.
Correct. Does that
So-
influence sleep as well?
Yeah, coffee is a known stimulant.
Okay.
So if they are habituated, then many times they'll take coffee. They might, if they are able to go to sleep, it is fine, but it might have impact the quality of sleep as such. But yes, other stimulants like even Coca-Cola or alcohol or coffee just prior to sleep might disturb their sleep.
And very important point that you told, no amount of snoring can be considered as
Yes,
normal
it is not
if it
normal.
is persistent. So anybody with a persistent habit of snoring should probably reach out for
Definitely
help.
they should. So you asked like when should people ask for help? When should they reach out? So any disturbance in sleep, either very short sleep or long sleep, or if they're having problems during the sleep, like snoring, or suddenly they are having some episodes of apnea, or inadequate sleep is affecting their daytime function. They are not able to concentrate at work, or even children, they are not able to study, or say adults who are not able to do their routine work. So definitely if it is impacting their function, that is the time they should be referred to a sleep specialist.
Perfect. Thanks for your great insights. Okay. Thanks for coming out to our show and giving us, true value of sleep.
Thank you so much. It's
Thank you
been a very insightful discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.